All right, next thing we're going to go to, we'll make a couple of the Mark Twain Lake Lure Company, the Mark Twain Magic Jig. And I struggled with what to call this thing when decided to kind of make a different jig than what I had been making. And the magic's not really in that it's a magic jig that magically catches fish. It does do that, I guess. It's a good jig for sure. But it's based around the color, the head color. So if you look closely at that, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with kind of the old, back in the day, the old Eakins, and they were Missouri guys, the Eakins crawl colors. It's a little bit off that color scheme. And it's kind of a magic craw swirl color. And that paint for that jig is kind of rare, a little different to find. I only know one place that I'm able to get it. So it's kind of a good looking color. And the thing that you can't tell here that you can tell in the water is that thing becomes kind of an iridescent blue hue, just a faint blue hue in the water. And fish lives in that water. They see better than we do. I think that it helps. I mean, I think it's just a really good all-around color. So I only paint this jig in one color, and that's why I call it the Magic Jig, because around the magic cross swirl color, the old Eakins type color. So that's what we're doing. Make it one color, one weed guard color, keeping it simple. And the skirt colors are all based off, and this will give you a good feel for it right here. This is the matching skirt color that I'm using in most of the Magic Craw jigs, and you'll get a better feel for the color here. If you catch that in the light just right, you'll kind of see the iridescent hue. I don't know if you're able to see that or not, but
we'll try it.
But anyway, it's there, and sometimes you can't maybe see it through the camera, but I don't know if you can pick it up there as I rotate it. But I've had a lot of guys really like this color. They understand once they've seen it, and you get that in the water, and it just kind of magnifies, really stands out. So we will put together one of the real popular colors out here, which is the Magic Candy Magic Orange.
That's a good looking color.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. This is a real popular color. And it's better in dirty water than you would ever think.
Hopefully we get a little dirty water this week.
And I'm just going to say this about that. Since I spilled the beans earlier on the 2 Oklahoma Wide Willow blades, being one of my little favorites. This is a Keith Williams special right here, by the way. He'll really appreciate me pointing that out to everybody. But I can't lie, he's a good friend of mine, and he's kind of turned me on to the need for a little jig like this, so I owe him for that. I think, as most of us know, that yes, the color matters, as we talked about earlier, because you fish it better if you like it, I believe. It needs to make sense, and I mean, it absolutely does matter at times, for sure. It's where you're putting it, and it's the abilities of the angler, and location, just like real estate. If you're fishing where they're not, it doesn't matter. You can have the best bait in the world tied on, and probably not going to turn out too well for you. I know I have done plenty of that, so. I'll trim him up a little bit. Now, I don't do this. If you buy one from me, I don't do this. It's something I leave up to the fishermen, because some like the skirt just like this, They want it full skirted. Now, I don't put a lot of strands in there. This particular one would have about 36 strands roughly in it. I try to keep it kind of trimmed down. I don't want it to be a great big bulky. Little more on the finessey side. This one's a 3/8. But what I do with this bait when I fish it personally is I'm always trimming it down and making it more of a true, more of a finesse type skirt. So I will trim it down. Like I said, you won't get it in a package like this. And sometimes I do this quicker than I am right now, and this is sort of an eyeball thing, but I go in and I'll cut that front half of the skirt down, and that's what that's going to do. It's going to allow what's left to be more of a flare. So you can probably already see how that's working. It's already flaring out more. So if that jig's on the bottom, you know, he's spreading out a little bit more on the front, and as you move it in the water, that will pulsate or flare just a little bit more. That's the way I like to fish it. The other thing I'm doing is weed guards need to be trimmed. But every jig fisherman is aware of that. So I will trim down something like that, and that's kind of a finished product before we put the trailer on it. So there's the magic jig in a magic craw orange. We will also look at, let's do this over here. Again, I'm not any of this stuff, the Yamamoto or anything like that, I'm not necessarily plugging that 100% that it's the only choice you have. Obviously, for sure, I ain't being paid by them. I'm not sponsored by them, but these are just baits that over time I've found that I really like. Run into a young man, really good young man that fished with me up at La Crosse, Wisconsin last year. We had a fantastic day in one of the Bassmaster, what do they call them, those divisional qualifiers, and he spanked me. I caught up with him at the end, but he showed me. I had never fished this particular bait. I always thought it didn't make that much difference, but I learned something. This is the Rage Tail. It's the Menace. It's a Menace grub. You break that, but these things have these cupped edges on the end of them. I know a lot of baits are being made similar to that, but I just know that this one works. That thing catches water as you're moving it. It'll work good on a swim jig. Probably work on a bladed jig for that matter. But he absolutely was kicking my tail. I borrowed some from him. I'm glad I did. So anyway, since that point, I've really become pretty fond of these things. So when we're done with this jig, this is the way that I'm fishing it on Mark Twain. I fished it all last summer this way. Didn't always fish this one with the orange in it once the water got real clean, but I'm not so sure that you couldn't. But there's the look you have with the Menace trailer on it. Again, everybody's got their favorites, but that's how I fish it. Just full disclosure, that's what it's looking like. And of course, a lot of times I'll chartreuse or put orange or something on the end of the craw. But that's the magic jig, rigged, trimmed, ready to go, and that's exactly how I fish the bait.